A destitute mother, trembling in her freezing apartment, personally used tweezers to pull something black, hard as stone, out of the ears of two of Chicago's wealthiest children. And in that very moment, both children, who had been silent for 8 whole years, suddenly screamed. But instead of being thanked, she was roared at in fury by their father, a notorious crime boss. "What have you done to my children?" She was dragged away, locked up like a criminal, while the 2 children sobbed with voices heard for the first time. Did she just save the 2 children, or had she accidentally destroyed everything? And why would the most powerful man in the city be so terrified that he was willing to destroy the very woman he had silently fallen in love with from the very first glance? This is the story of a miracle that was doubted, a horrifying betrayal from the closest person, and a love so intense it could either destroy or redeem everything. Do you dare to keep listening to find out what really happened when a poor mother dared to touch the darkest secret of a powerful family? Before we dive into this chilling and mysterious story, please remember to subscribe to the channel Alex Truths and like this video. Every subscription, like, and share from you is a huge spiritual gift and an incredibly profound source of motivation for the channel's growth, so we can continue bringing wonderful videos every day to everyone. There would be no greater joy than receiving your love and support through the comments you leave right below this video. Comments sharing your emotions or telling us which province or city you're living and working in while listening to this story. All right, let's continue together and immerse ourselves in this amazing, captivating story that's filled with deep emotions. My name is Mia Reynolds, and on this cold December evening in 2025, as the wind howled off Lake Michigan and whipped through the cracked windows of my tiny apartment on Chicago's South Side, I never imagined that silence could feel so loud. The kind of silence that presses down on your chest until you can barely breathe. The kind that comes from 8 years of a little boy's world without sound, and from my own world crumbling around me and my 5-year-old son, Ethan. I was 28 years old, but I felt twice that. Thin from too many skipped meals, my cheeks hollow, my hands rough from scrubbing floors and waiting tables just to keep the lights on. Ethan slept on the worn-out couch in our 1-room apartment, wrapped in the only blanket we had left after the landlord took the rest for back rent. The heat barely worked, and the Chicago winter bit through the walls like it had a personal grudge. Nights were the worst, wind screaming through the gaps, snow piling against the door, and me lying awake counting the dollars I didn't have. Food stamps ran out halfway through the month. The corner store let me run a tab sometimes, but the owner's eyes grew harder each time I came in with empty promises. My body ached from exhaustion. Dark circles ringed my eyes from sleepless nights, worrying about eviction notices taped to the door, about Ethan coughing in the cold, about how I was failing him, even though I loved him more than life itself. Poverty wasn't just numbers on a page. It was humiliating. It was standing in line at the food pantry with your head down, praying no one from Ethan's preschool saw you. It was wearing the same coat for 3 winters until the lining tore and the wind cut straight to your bones. It was the dizziness that came from not eating enough, the numbness in your fingers from the cold, the constant fear that one more bill, one more emergency would finally break you. I had lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. My ribs showed when I changed clothes. Sleep was a stranger. Every creak in the building made me jolt awake, terrified of what tomorrow might bring. I whispered prayers into the dark, clutching the small silver cross necklace my late husband had given me before the accident took him 3 years ago. Lord, just get us through one more day. But God works in ways I never expected. It started with the twins' 8th birthday party. Vincent Moretti, everyone in Chicago knew the name, even if they whispered it. Fair-skinned, American through and through, with roots that went back generations in this city. He controlled half the shadows in the streets, but he kept his family far from them. His penthouse towered over Lake Michigan, like a fortress of glass and steel, warm lights glowing against the gray December sky, while the rest of us froze below. I got the catering gig through sheer desperation. Extra shifts at the diner weren't enough anymore. The company sent me to serve at a private event. No big crowd, just family. I stood at the gate in my borrowed black uniform, clutching my bag, breath fogging in the air. The security guard eyed me like I was something the wind blew in from the south side, but they let me through. Inside, the penthouse was a different world. Warmth hit me like a wave. Marble floors that gleamed, windows from floor to ceiling showing the lake glittering under the weak winter sun. The air smelled of fresh pine from a massive Christmas tree and rich food I could never afford. Everything was perfect, quiet, too quiet. And then I saw them. Isabella and Luca, Bella and Luca, Vincent's twins, 8 years old, small for their age, sitting together on a plush rug surrounded by wrapped gifts they couldn't hear being described. They arranged toy cars in perfect lines, their movements careful, precise. But every few minutes, both would touch their ears, wincing just a little. A flicker of pain crossed their faces. No one else seemed to notice. The staff moved like ghosts, trained to stay distant. Vincent stood across the room, watching them with eyes that carried the weight of the world. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a simple dark sweater that probably cost more than my yearly rent. His face was hard, lined from years of decisions no one else could make. But when he looked at his children, something broke open in him. Raw grief, gnawing guilt that ate at him night after night. I learned later that his wife, Sophia, had died giving birth to them. The twins were all he had left of her, and they had been born profoundly deaf. For 8 years, he had flown them to every specialist money could buy. New York, Los Angeles, even overseas. Millions spent. Every doctor said the same. Irreversible, congenital, nothing to be done. Vincent couldn't accept it. The guilt consumed him. If he had chosen a different hospital, demanded better care, been there more, maybe Sophia would be alive. Maybe the twins would hear her voice in recordings, hear him say he loved them. The remorse was a constant storm inside him, violent, tearing at his soul. He ruled Chicago's underworld with fairness but iron control. Yet in his home, he was drowning in silence. I served cake that day, moving quietly. When I passed Luca, he looked up at me with those big, lonely eyes. I smiled softly, timid, polite, the way a woman like me learns to be when she's powerless. He hesitated, then smiled back, the tiniest curve of his mouth. My heart cracked. Bella noticed too, edging closer. Vincent watched from the shadows. Something stirred in him then, a curiosity, a pull toward my gentleness, but deeper, unspoken. He felt the first flicker of something overwhelming, though he didn't know it yet. The party ended. I cleared plates, pocketed tips that would buy groceries for a week. As I left, the cold hit me again, numbing my face, making my legs unsteady. I nearly stumbled on the icy sidewalk, dizziness washing over me from hunger and exhaustion. The gap between his world and mine felt like a chasm I could fall into forever. But Vincent had noticed how calm the twins were around me. A week later, the catering company called again. He requested me specifically for small family dinners. Over the next weeks, I became a familiar face. I learned their personal signs, the ones they made up themselves. I left little things, a folded paper football for Luca, a bracelet of red, white, and blue beads for Bella. Simple American crafts from scrap I found. They lit up when they saw me. Vincent watched, his inner conflict growing. Guilt over his violent world clashing with the warmth my presence brought his children. Remorse that he couldn't fix their silence himself. And something new, a fierce protectiveness toward me, though he fought it. One evening in late December, as snow fell thick outside, I finished cleaning up. The twins were asleep. Vincent stood by the window, staring at the city lights. He turned to me, voice low. "You see them, really see them." I nodded, timid. "They're beautiful children, sir." His eyes, stormy, deep, held mine a moment too long. Something surged in him then, overwhelming, passionate. From the very first real spark, love hit him like a force he couldn't control. Intense, explosive. He turned away quickly, hiding the violent emotional conflict tearing at him. Guilt over his past, fear of dragging innocence into his darkness. But the pull was undeniable. Outside, rival crews were moving on his territory. Whispers of betrayal. That night, driving home through snowy streets, my beat-up car slid on ice. Headlights flared behind me. Men from a rival faction looking to send a message by targeting anyone close to Vincent. My heart pounded. Fear choked me. The car spun, dizziness overwhelming. Then, tires screeching, black SUVs blocking the road. Vincent's men? No, Vincent himself, arriving like thunder. He stepped out, coat whipping in the wind, facing down 6 armed men in a tense standoff. Words sharp, bold threats without a shot fired. They backed off, melting into the night. He opened my door, helped me out as my legs buckled from shock and cold. His touch steady, warm. "You're safe now." I looked up at him, confused, fearful, guarded, yet curious. My voice soft, trembling. Why help me? His jaw tightened, inner turmoil raging, guilt, remorse, that new overwhelming love crashing through him. "Because I can't let anything happen to you." The drama was only beginning. The unfairness of my life, the poverty, the cold nights, the constant humiliation, stood stark against his wealth and power. But in that moment, something shifted. Suspicion lingered in me, fear and disorientation making my head spin. Yet deep inside, a tiny spark of hope flickered. Little did I know how intensely the turmoil would grow, for both of us. The call came on a gray morning in early December 2025, when the wind off Lake Michigan felt sharp enough to cut skin. I was folding Ethan's tiny socks in our freezing apartment, fingers numb, stomach hollow from yesterday's single meal of oatmeal, when my phone buzzed. The catering company, a private birthday party, good pay, same client as before, the Moretti penthouse. I almost said no. My body ached from double shifts. My coat had a new tear at the seam, and the eviction notice under my door was dated for the end of the month. But the money could buy formula, diapers, maybe keep the heat on another week. So I whispered yes, voice soft and timid even to myself. Getting there was its own trial. The bus was late, snow turning to slush underfoot. I slipped twice on the icy sidewalk, catching myself with hands that stung from the cold. By the time I reached the towering building on Lakeshore Drive, my cheeks were raw, my thin frame shaking inside the borrowed uniform. The doorman looked me over, malnourished, exhausted, coat too thin for Chicago winter, and let me in without a word. The elevator rose silently to the top floor, and when the doors opened, warmth wrapped around me like something I had forgotten existed. The penthouse smelled of cinnamon and fresh pine, the massive Christmas tree twinkling with lights that reflected off the lake far below. Everything gleamed, polished wood floors, leather furniture soft as butter, a fireplace crackling gently. It hurt to look at it all. The contrast clawed at my heart. Their world of plenty, my world of nothing. The twins' 8th birthday was small, just family. Bella and Luca sat together on a thick rug near the tree, surrounded by wrapped gifts in silver and gold paper. They were arranging new toy cars in perfect rows, their small faces serious, beautiful. But again, I saw it. The way both touched their ears every few minutes, wincing as if something hurt deep inside. No one else noticed. The few staff moved like shadows, eyes down. Vincent stood near the window, arms crossed, watching his children with an expression that tore at me. He wore a dark sweater that fit him perfectly, sleeves pushed up to reveal strong forearms. Fair-skinned, sharp-featured, every inch the powerful man who owned half the city's shadows. But his eyes, storm gray and haunted, carried a weight that made my breath catch. Guilt lived there, gnawing, relentless. Remorse over Sophia's death, over the silence that had stolen his children's world. A violent inner war raged in him every day. The ruthless leader who could stare down armed men without flinching, and the father who would trade his empire for one chance to hear his twins laugh out loud. I served quietly, carrying trays of cake and hot chocolate. When I passed close to Luca, he looked up. Those lonely eyes met mine, and something passed between us. Recognition of pain, maybe. I offered the smallest smile, timid, polite. He hesitated, then gave one back. Bella edged closer too, curious. My heart cracked open a little more. Vincent noticed. His gaze shifted to me, lingering. Something flickered across his face. Curiosity, then something deeper, fiercer. A surge he couldn't name yet. It hit him hard, that first real look, overwhelming, passionate, burning from the core. He turned away quickly, jaw tight, fighting the violent conflict inside. How could he feel this for a stranger, a poor waitress from the South Side? Guilt crashed against the pull, guilt over his dark world, remorse that he couldn't protect his own children from silence, let alone drag an innocent woman into his storm. The party ended too soon. I cleared plates, pocketing tips that felt like gold in my cold hands. As I prepared to leave, the warmth of the penthouse clung to me, making the thought of returning to my freezing apartment unbearable. I stepped into the elevator, dizziness washing over me from low blood sugar and exhaustion. My legs felt unsteady, the walls tilting slightly. Outside, the wind hit like a slap, snow swirled thick. I pulled my thin coat tighter, but it did nothing against the bite. Halfway to the bus stop, headlights flared behind me, 2 black cars pulling up fast. Men stepped out, faces hard. Rivals. I recognized the tension in their stance. They knew I worked for Vincent. A message, maybe. Or worse. Fear exploded in my chest. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I backed away, numb fingers fumbling for my phone, but it slipped into the snow. One man advanced, voice low and threatening. "Tell your boss we're watching." I couldn't speak. Terror choked me, my vision blurred, knees buckling. Then, tires screeching. 3 SUVs roared up, blocking the street. Doors flew open. Vincent stepped out first, coat whipping in the wind, face carved from stone. The air crackled with tension. No guns drawn, just words sharp as knives. Vincent's voice cut through the storm, low, controlled, deadly calm. "You touch anyone close to me, you deal with me. Walk away. Now." The rivals hesitated. They knew his reputation, fair but unforgiving. One spat on the ground, but they retreated, cars peeling away into the night. The confrontation lasted minutes, but it felt like hours. Vincent turned to me. I was shaking violently, tears freezing on my cheeks, legs barely holding me up. He caught me as I swayed, strong arms steadying me. Warmth from his body seeped through my thin coat. "Mia," he said, voice rough with something I couldn't name. "You're safe." I looked up at him, confused, fearful, guarded. My voice came out soft, trembling. "Sir, why? I'm nobody." His eyes darkened with torment. The surge hit him again. Love, fierce and instant, tearing through every wall he'd built. He fought it violently inside, remorse screaming that he didn't deserve this feeling, guilt that his world had just put her in danger. Yet the protectiveness roared louder. "Because you matter," he said, the words torn from him. "More than you know." He helped me into his SUV, the leather seats warm, the heat blasting. I sat numb, disoriented, the luxury overwhelming after my freezing walk. My hands shook so badly I couldn't fasten the seatbelt. He reached over gently, doing it for me. His touch lingered a second too long, sending a jolt through both of us. He drove me home himself. The silence in the car was thick, charged. I stared out at the city lights, tears slipping silently. The unfairness of it all crushed me. My poverty so deep it was humiliating. His wealth so vast it felt unreal. Why had life dealt me nothing but loss and cold nights, while he had everything yet carried such pain? When we reached my building, peeling paint, broken buzzer, snow drifting through the cracked entrance, he insisted on walking me up. The hallway smelled of mildew. I was mortified. He saw the eviction notice taped to my door, the bare bulb flickering overhead. Inside, Ethan slept on the couch under our one blanket. The apartment was freezing. I could see my breath. Vincent's face hardened, not with judgment, but with a remorse so deep it looked like physical pain. The inner conflict tore at him. How could he live in luxury while this woman, this gentle soul who saw his children when no one else did, suffered like this? I stood there, thin and trembling, too ashamed to meet his eyes. "Thank you, sir," I whispered, voice timid, polite, barely audible. He reached into his coat, pulled out an envelope thick with cash, more than I made in months, and pressed it into my hand. "For you and your boy. No strings." I shook my head, tears falling faster. "I can't." "You will." His voice broke slightly. The love surged again, violent, consuming. He wanted to pull her close, shield her from every cold night, every unfair blow life had dealt. But guilt held him back. "Please." I took it, fingers numb. The weight of it felt like survival. He left without another word, but at the door he paused, looking back. Our eyes met. Something passed between us, suspicion on my side, fear and curiosity warring inside me. On his, an overwhelming, burning love he couldn't yet admit, tearing his heart apart. The drama was escalating. The gap between our worlds yawned wider. My poverty felt more pitiful, more humiliating than ever. His wealth, his power, his sudden fierce protectiveness, they confused me, terrified me, and stirred something deep I didn't understand. But the inner tearing had only just begun, for both of us. The weeks after that night blurred into a strange rhythm I could not understand. The catering company kept calling, always the same client, always the same request. Mia Reynolds for the Moretti family dinners. Vincent had asked for me by name. Each time I stepped into that gleaming elevator, the warmth swallowed me whole, and the memory of my freezing apartment felt like a distant nightmare. Yet when I returned home, the nightmare was waiting, colder, hungrier, crueler. My poverty had sunk to a depth that humiliated me every single day. Ethan's cough had worsened in the damp cold. The pediatric clinic turned us away because I owed too much from his last visit. The pantry shelves held only half a box of cereal, and a jar of peanut butter scraped almost clean. I lost more weight, my collarbones sharp, my wrists thin as twigs. Sleep came in shallow snatches because the wind screamed through the cracked windows, and every noise made me fear the landlord pounding on the door. I bathed Ethan in water heated on the stove, wrapped him in my own coat at night because his was too small. Some mornings, dizziness hit me so hard I had to grip the wall to keep from falling. I whispered prayers over his sleeping form, tears freezing on my lashes, begging God for just one small mercy. But mercy came wrapped in a way I never expected. At the penthouse, the twins began to wait for me. Bella would peek around the corner when the elevator dinged, her small face lighting up. Claudia would already be on the rug, arranging his toy cars, but he would glance up the moment I appeared. I learned their private signs quickly: the tap on the chest that meant happy, the point to the window when they dreamed of something beyond these walls. I left tiny gifts made from whatever scraps I could find: a paper football folded from an old grocery receipt for Luca, a simple bracelet of red, white, and blue beads strung on thread for Bella. They treasured them like gold. Vincent watched it all from a distance at first. He would stand by the massive windows overlooking the frozen lake, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. But I felt his eyes on me, intense, searching. The inner war inside him grew fiercer every day. Gnawing remorse over the silence that had stolen his children's world clashed with a new, violent torment, the burning love that had ignited the night he rescued me from the rivals. It terrified him. He was a man who commanded fear in the streets, who could end disputes with a single look. Yet this gentle, impoverished waitress unraveled him completely. Guilt screamed that he did not deserve her light. His hands carried too much shadow. Remorse tore at him for the danger his world kept dragging to her doorstep. Yet the surge of love was overwhelming, passionate, consuming. He fought it with every breath, but it only grew stronger. One quiet evening in mid-December, I stayed later to help clear after dinner. The twins had fallen asleep on the wide leather couch, curled together under a cashmere blanket that probably cost more than my rent for a year. The penthouse was still, only the soft crackle of the fireplace breaking the silence. I moved carefully, stacking plates, when Vincent appeared in the doorway. Mia. His voice was low, rough. I froze, heart jumping. I turned slowly, hands clasped in front of me, voice soft and timid. "Yes, sir?" He stepped closer, and the air changed, charged, heavy. His eyes held mine, stormy with conflict. "The children, they smile more when you're here." I swallowed, cheeks warming. "They're easy to love, sir." Something flashed across his face, pain, longing. He took another step. "You see them, truly see them. Not many do." The words hung between us in the quiet. My breath caught. I felt small, powerless, yet strangely seen. Confusion swirled inside me. Why did this powerful man look at me like I was something precious? Suspicion lingered. I had learned long ago not to trust kindness from those who had everything. Yet curiosity tugged harder. My voice came out barely above a whisper. "I just treat them like children, sir, like they deserve." His jaw tightened. The inner tearing was visible now, guilt and love warring violently. He wanted to reach for me, to promise protection from every cold night, every unfair blow, but remorse held him back. "You deserve more than what life's given you," he said, voice cracking slightly. I looked down, tears pricking. The contrast crushed me, his world of warmth and plenty, mine of hunger and humiliation. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. His face hardened instantly. He glanced at the screen, then at me. "Stay here tonight. Storm's worsening. I'll have a room made up." I shook my head quickly, fear rising. "I can't. I have Ethan." "I'll send someone for him. You're both staying." There was no room for argument in his tone. I nodded, numb. An hour later, one of his drivers brought Ethan to the penthouse, wrapped in the driver's own coat because ours were too thin. My son's eyes went wide at the lights, the tree, the warmth. Vincent knelt to his level, voice gentle in a way I had never heard. "You're safe here, buddy." Ethan, shy but exhausted, fell asleep in a guest room bigger than our entire apartment. I stood in the hallway afterward, dizziness washing over me again. Vincent caught my elbow as I swayed. "You haven't eaten properly in days," he said quietly. Not a question. Tears spilled before I could stop them. The humiliation burned. "I'm fine, sir." "You're not." His grip tightened, protective, fierce. The love surged again, passionate, burning, tearing him apart. He led me to the kitchen, sat me at the marble island, and heated soup himself. Real soup, rich with vegetables and chicken. I ate slowly, hands shaking. He watched, torment in his eyes. Outside, the city grew restless. Rival crews were pushing boundaries, testing Vincent's control, while whispers spread that he was distracted. That night, as snow piled against the windows, his phone rang again. He stepped into the hall to take the call, voice low and lethal. I heard fragments, threats, territory lines, a warehouse on the west side. He returned minutes later, coat on. "I have to go." Fear gripped me. Is it because of me? He paused, eyes softening painfully. "No, but it ends tonight." He left with 3 cars. I stood at the window, watching taillights disappear into the storm. Hours passed in agonizing quiet. Ethan slept soundly for the first time in weeks. The twins stirred once, found me reading to them by fireplace light, and curled against me trustingly. Near dawn, headlights swept the drive. Vincent returned alone, coat dusted with snow, face carved with fresh tension. He found me in the living room, wrapped in a blanket on the couch, exhaustion finally pulling me under. His steps slowed when he saw me, thin, malnourished, yet peaceful in sleep. He knelt silently, brushing a strand of hair from my face. The touch lingered. Love crashed over him again, overwhelming, fierce, undeniable. Inner conflict tore violently. He wanted to carry me away from every injustice, every cold night, yet guilt roared that his world would only bring her more pain. Remorse for the shadows he could not escape gnawed deeper. I stirred, eyes fluttering open. For a moment, we just looked at each other in the dim light. Confusion flooded me. Why did his gaze hold such tenderness? Fear followed. What did this mean for someone like me? Yet beneath it, a tiny warmth bloomed, terrifying in its intensity. He stood quickly, voice rough. "You're safe, always." The quiet bonds were deepening, between me and the twins, between Vincent and the possibility of something he had never allowed himself to want. But the drama was escalating. My poverty remained a cruel daily torment. His wealth and power shielded me more each day, yet the danger circling him grew bolder, and the tearing inside both our hearts was becoming unbearable. The days leading into late December 2025 carried a heaviness I could feel in my bones. The quiet bonds with Bella and Luca had grown into something tender and daily. I was at the penthouse almost every evening now, no longer just serving, but reading to the twins by the fireplace, helping them with puzzles, tucking them in when nightmares of silence woke them. Vincent made it possible. He paid the catering company extra, quietly covered my lost diner shifts, and never let me leave without ensuring Ethan and I had what we needed. Yet every time I stepped back into my crumbling apartment, the unfairness of life hit harder, like a fist to the chest. Poverty had become a living thing that followed me everywhere. The landlord finally changed the locks while I was gone one afternoon, evicted without warning, my few belongings piled in black trash bags on the snowy curb. I stood there in the freezing wind, Ethan clinging to my leg, tears turning to ice on my face. Thin, malnourished, sleep-deprived for weeks, my body swayed with dizziness so strong the world tilted. I had nowhere to go. The shelter downtown had a waiting list. Friends had long since drifted away under the weight of my endless need. Humiliation burned through me as neighbors passed, eyes averted. I whispered prayers that sounded more like sobs, clutching my silver cross necklace until the edges cut my palm. Vincent found out within hours. One of his drivers spotted the bags, called him. He arrived himself, coat unbuttoned despite the cold, face carved with fury and something deeper, heart-tearing remorse. He loaded Ethan and me into the warm SUV without a word at first, then drove us straight back to the penthouse. "You're staying here," he said, voice low, final. "Both of you. Permanently." I sat numb, shock and confusion swirling. My voice came out soft, timid. "Sir, I can't pay." "You don't have to." His eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, stormy with violent inner conflict. The love that had been building now roared through him, passionate, burning, overwhelming. He wanted to give me the world, shield me from every injustice. Yet guilt screamed that his dangerous life would only bring more pain. Remorse gnawed deeper. How could the man who controlled Chicago's shadows fail to protect one gentle woman and her child from something as basic as shelter? The guest suite he gave us was larger than any home I had ever known. Soft beds, thick blankets, a window overlooking the glittering lake. Ethan's eyes went wide with wonder. For the first time in months, he slept through the night without coughing. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart tearing in opposite directions. Gratitude warred with suspicion, fear that this kindness would vanish. Curiosity about why Vincent looked at me the way he did, like I was something precious he was terrified to break. Then came the darker shadow. A new appointment at the Children's Hospital revealed the unimaginable. Claw's vision was beginning to fail, early signs of progressive retinal degeneration, unrelated to his deafness. The doctor spoke gently, but the words landed like blows. He could lose sight completely within years. Bella clutched her brother's hand, small face pale. Vincent stood frozen, the diagnosis ripping open every wound of guilt and powerlessness. Millions spent on hearing specialists, and now this. Remorse crashed over him in waves so violent his hands shook. He had built an empire to protect his family, yet he could not stop this slow theft of Luca's world. He isolated the twins more fiercely, canceled outings, doubled security, threw money at experimental treatments in California and Switzerland. The penthouse grew quieter, heavier. I watched the children's spirits dim. Luca pressed his face to windows less often. Bella's drawings turned darker. My heart broke for them daily. Vincent's torment deepened. Late at night, I would find him in his study, staring at old photos of Sophia, glass of whiskey untouched. The inner war raged harder. Guilt that he had failed his wife and children. Remorse that his dark world distracted him from noticing Luca's symptoms sooner. And the burning love for me that both saved and tormented him. He wanted to pull me close, confess everything, promise forever. Yet fear that his enemies would use me to hurt him held him back. The rivals sensed weakness. Whispers spread that Vincent Moretti was losing focus. Harassment escalated. One evening, as I walked Ethan to a nearby pharmacy for cough medicine, Vincent had insisted on fresh air and a bodyguard. The trouble found us again. 2 cars cut us off near the corner. 4 men stepped out, faces I recognized from previous confrontations. My bodyguard moved forward, but they outnumbered him. Fear exploded in my chest. Ethan whimpered, burying his face in my coat. My legs went numb, dizziness threatening as memories of every cold, hungry night flooded back. Then Vincent arrived like a storm. His SUV screeched to a halt, doors flying open. He stepped out alone first, coat whipping, voice deadly calm. "You're on my street, threatening my people." The leader smirked. "Heard you've gone soft, Moretti. Protecting strays now?" Vincent's eyes flashed with controlled fury. His men flanked him silently. The standoff stretched, air thick with tension. Words were exchanged, sharp, bold threats of consequences, territory lines drawn in the snow. No one moved for weapons. The rivals backed down slowly, cars peeling away. Vincent's power held, but barely. He turned to me, face softening painfully. I was shaking, tears streaming, Ethan clinging tighter. Vincent knelt, wrapping us both in his strong arms. Warmth against the biting cold. Love surged through him again, fierce, passionate, tearing every defense apart. He pressed his forehead briefly to mine, breath ragged with inner conflict. Guilt roared that he had brought this danger, remorse that I suffered because of him. Yet the need to protect, to love, burned hotter. Back at the penthouse, he carried Ethan to bed himself, tucking him in with a gentleness that made my throat ache. Then he found me in the hallway, still trembling from shock and cold. I swayed, dizziness returning. He caught me, hands steady on my waist. "Mia." His voice was raw. Our eyes locked in the dim light. For a moment, the world stilled. I saw everything in his gaze: torment, longing, overwhelming love he could no longer hide. My own heart tore violently, suspicion crumbling under waves of gratitude, and something new, terror. He released me slowly, stepping back as if burned. "Get some rest," he said hoarsely. I nodded, voice barely a whisper. "Thank you, sir." He turned away, fists clenched, the inner tearing almost visible. The darker shadow had fallen. Luca's sight was slipping. My poverty, though eased by Vincent's roof, still haunted every thought. Memories of trash bags on the curb, of hunger sharp as knives. The disparity between our worlds had never felt wider. Danger circled closer. Drama escalated, confusing and numbing. And the violent intensity inside both our hearts was growing beyond bearing. Christmas had come and gone in the penthouse, like a dream I was afraid to wake from. The twins woke to gifts piled high under the twinkling tree. Toy airplanes, puzzles, soft blankets in their... I watched from the doorway, thin arms wrapped around myself, tears slipping silently. For one morning, the cold, the hunger, the humiliation of poverty felt far away. Yet even surrounded by warmth and plenty, the memory of trash bags on the snowy curb, of nights when the wind howled through cracks and Ethan shivered against me, clung to my heart like ice that would not melt. Vincent had given us everything, a closet full of new clothes, simple, warm things that fit properly. Pantries stocked with food I did not have to count. Doctors for Ethan's cough, tutors for the twins. But the darker shadow hung heavier every day. Luca's vision tests grew worse. The specialist spoke of progression, of time. His love for me had become a living thing, fierce, burning, tearing him apart nightly. He never spoke it aloud, but I felt it in every glance, every protective touch when dizziness took me. Every quiet moment he stood closer than necessary. The inner conflict raged violently inside him, gnawing remorse that he could not save his son's sight, guilt that his dangerous world kept pulling me into harm, and the overwhelming surge of passion that made him want to claim me completely. Yet he held back, terrified his shadows would destroy the light he saw in me. I, too, was tearing in two. Gratitude crashed against old suspicion. How could a man like Vincent Moretti, wealthy beyond imagining, powerful enough to make rivals back down with a look, see someone as broken and powerless as me? Confusion numbed me some days, fear that it would all vanish, curiosity that grew into something warmer, deeper, terrifying. My heart, long guarded by loss and poverty, began to ache in a new way. Then came the evening. Everything changed. It was late December, the wind screaming off the lake, snow piling against the windows. Vincent had been called away suddenly. Another confrontation. whispers of a rival crew moving on a warehouse near the river. He kissed the twins' foreheads, promised to be back soon, and looked at me longer than usual. "Stay inside," he said, voice rough. "Lock the doors." The twins grew restless as the storm worsened. Bella paced. Luca pressed both hands to his right ear, face twisting in pain he could not voice. I had seen them touch their ears before, but never like this. Silent tears streamed down Luca's cheeks. Bella curled beside him, clutching her own ear, small body shaking. My heart stopped. I knelt quickly, gathering them close. "Show me," I signed gently. Luca tilted his head toward the lamplight. I parted his dark hair carefully, breath catching. Deep in the canal, visible under the bright glow, was something dark, dense, hardened, glistening like wet stone. A massive buildup, years of compaction. I checked Bella next, the same. Both ears blocked severely. How had every specialist, every scan, every $1,000,000 consultation missed this? Memory flooded me. My younger brother, years ago, deaf in one ear for months from the same thing. A simple removal had given him sound again. Shock and horror mixed inside me. These children had suffered 8 years, not from something irreversible, but from something so ordinary it was cruel. The twins clung to me, pain etched on their small faces. I held them in the quiet, fireplace crackling, storm raging outside. My mind raced. Tell Vincent? He would call the same doctors who had failed them. Do nothing? Watch them suffer more? I prayed silently, clutching my cross necklace. Lord, show me what to do. Vincent returned near midnight, snow on his coat, tension carved deeper. The confrontation had been bold, rival cars blocking the warehouse entrance, men stepping out with threats. He faced them down alone at first, voice lethal, reminding them whose city this was. His men arrived, standoff stretching until the rivals retreated. But the cost showed in his eyes, weariness, fresh remorse that his world kept bleeding into ours. He found us in the playroom, the twins asleep against me, exhausted from pain. I looked up, tears in my eyes. "Vincent," I whispered, forgetting formality. "There's something in their ears, something blocking everything." He knelt instantly, face paling. I showed him under the light. His breath stopped. Guilt and rage warred violently inside him. All those years, all that money, and the truth had been hidden in plain sight. He carried the twins to their beds himself, movements gentle despite the storm in his eyes. Then he returned to me. I stood trembling, dizziness returning from the weight of what I had seen. "They've been in pain," I said softly, timidly. "Real pain. And no one looked closely enough." Vincent's hands clenched. The inner tearing reached new violence, remorse that he had trusted credentials over his own children's silent cries, guilt that his desperation had been exploited, and the burning love for me, the one person who had finally seen. He stepped closer, voice raw. "You noticed, when no one else did." I looked down, tears falling. "I just love them." His control snapped for a moment. He cupped my face gently, thumbs brushing my tears. The touch sent fire through both of us. Love surged, passionate, overwhelming, tearing every last defense. His eyes darkened with it. "Mia," he whispered, voice breaking, "you're saving them, saving us." I swayed, shock and confusion crashing. A woman like me, thin from hunger, marked by poverty's cruelty, suddenly the center of this powerful man's world? My heart tore violently, suspicion crumbling, fear that I was dreaming, yet a rush of warmth I could not stop. He released me quickly, stepping back, inner conflict raging. "Rest," he said hoarsely. We'll fix this tomorrow. But tomorrow brought no calm. The rivals struck bolder, tires slashed on Vincent's cars, warnings painted on warehouse walls. He spent hours handling it, returning late, face harder. Danger circled closer. That night, the twins' pain worsened. They woke, crying silently, hands pressed to ears. I held them until they slept again, heart aching with the hidden truth now burning inside me. Poverty's ghost still haunted me. Though I lived in luxury now, memories of cold nights, of Ethan hungry, of humiliation at food pantries, they rose unbidden, making Vincent's wealth feel both saving and surreal. The disparity tore at me daily. Drama escalated. The storm outside mirrored the one within us all. Vincent's torment deepened, guilt, remorse, love warring without cease. My own heart split wider, gratitude, fear. The first terrifying stirrings of love returned. And the hidden truth in the ear waited, ready to change everything. The night of December 31st, 2025 arrived with a storm that rattled the penthouse windows like it wanted inside. Vincent had been gone since dusk. Another urgent call, rivals pushing harder, this time blocking a shipment on the south side docks. He had kissed the twins goodnight with extra tenderness, lingered at my door a moment longer than usual, eyes dark with unspoken words. "Stay safe," he said, voice rough. I nodded, heart pounding from the intensity in his gaze. The twins could not settle. Luca paced the playroom, small hands pressed to his ears. Bella sat curled on the rug, rocking slightly, face twisted in silent agony. The pain had worsened through the day, sharp, unrelenting. I had watched them suffer in quiet, my own heart tearing with every wince. The hidden blockages I had seen burned in my mind. Years of buildup, compressing nerves, stealing sound. Missed or ignored by every specialist Vincent's fortune had bought. I knelt beside them, gathering both into my arms. Their small bodies trembled against me. Tears streamed down their cheeks, but no sound escaped. My chest ached so fiercely I could barely breathe. Memories of my own poverty flooded back. Nights when Ethan cried from hunger and I had nothing to give. When cold wind cut through our thin walls and I held him to share what little warmth I had. Thin, malnourished, sleep-deprived myself, I knew pain's cruel silence. These children, surrounded by every luxury, suffered a different cruelty, one no money had fixed. "Trust me," I signed slowly, gently. Luca hesitated, fear in his eyes from years of failed procedures. Bella looked at me with desperate hope. Finally, both nodded. I fetched the sterilized tweezers from the first aid kit, kept ready these past days, a decision I had wrestled with in prayer. My hands shook as I sat them under the bright lamp. Lord, guide me. Do not let me hurt them. First, Luca. I tilted his head carefully toward the light. The dark mass was clearer now, swollen from pressure. Breath held, I eased the tweezers in, slow, gentle. He tensed but stayed still, trusting me completely. I hooked the edge, pulled with steady care. Resistance, then release. The hardened buildup slid free into my palm, large, dense, years of silent theft. Luca gasped, a real audible gasp, rough, startled, loud in the quiet room. His hand flew to his ear. Eyes wide, he sat up, looking around as if the world had changed shape. The grandfather clock ticked in the hall. Wind howled outside. City traffic hummed far below. His mouth opened. A small, broken sound escaped. Tick. Tears flooded my eyes. Yes, baby, that's the clock. You can hear. He touched his throat, feeling the vibration, wonder and fear mixing on his face. Then Bella's turn. She leaned forward eagerly now, trusting fully. The same careful process, the same release. Another gasp, this one higher, clearer. Bella's eyes went huge. She pointed at the fireplace. "Crackle," she whispered, voice unpracticed but beautiful. Both children trembled, overwhelmed by sound rushing in after 8 years of silence. They clung to me, whispering words, rough, hesitant, miraculous. "Mia, thank you." Loud. I held them as they shook, sobbing quietly myself. Thank you, Jesus. A miracle born not of wealth or medicine, but of willing hands and a heart that finally saw. The door burst open minutes later. Vincent stormed in, snow on his coat, face hard from the dock's confrontation, rivals waiting in the shadows, bold threats exchanged, his voice alone forcing them back. He froze at the sight. His children speaking, me holding the dark masses in my palm, tears streaming down all our faces. "What?" His voice broke the air like thunder. The twins ran to him. "Daddy!" Bella cried, the word raw and real. Luca echoed, "Dad, I hear you." Vincent dropped to his knees, arms catching them, body shaking. For a moment, wonder overtook everything. He held them close, tears falling silently as he heard their voices for the first time. "My babies," he whispered, voice cracking. "You can hear." But then his eyes landed on my hands, the tweezers, the blood-tinged blockages, the evidence of what I had done. Terror replaced wonder. Protective fury exploded. "What have you done to them?" He stood, pushing the twins gently behind him, face white with rage and fear. "You're not a doctor. You could have—" His voice roared, shaking the walls. I shrank back, dizziness crashing over me. Shock, confusion, pain. My voice came out soft, trembling. "Vincent, please. I helped them. This was blocking everything. Look." He did not listen. Years of betrayal, of failed hope, of enemies circling, it all blinded him. "Security!" he bellowed. 2 guards appeared instantly. The twins screamed, actual screams. "No, she saved us, Daddy!" But Vincent's fear was too strong. "Take her to the secure room, now." Hands grabbed my arms. I did not resist. As they pulled me away, I looked back at the twins. "It's okay," I mouthed. "You can hear now." Their sobs, loud, heartbreaking, followed me down the hall. Vincent carried the children to the hospital himself, scans ordered urgently. I sat alone in the locked room, hands folded, head bowed. Not praying for myself, praying for the twins, that the hearing would hold, that Vincent would understand. My heart tore violently, gratitude that they could hear, horror at his rage, confusion that the man who loved me so fiercely could turn like this. Memories of poverty surged, powerless again, waiting for judgment from someone with all the power. Vincent paced the hospital hallway, children undergoing tests. Wonder still warred with terror inside him. Their voices echoed in his mind, beautiful, impossible. Yet the sight of blood on my hands haunted him. Guilt gnawed deeper. He had failed to see the truth himself. Remorse that his desperation had kept him blind. And the burning love, now mixed with fear that he had hurt the one person who had saved them. Early scans confirmed it, massive cerumen impactions, visible on old records yet never treated. The miracle was real. Vincent's world shattered. All those millions, all those specialists, and the answer had been simple, overlooked, delivered by the woman he had just accused. He rushed back, bursting into the secure room. I stood, trembling. He stopped short, face broken, red eyes, guilt carved deep. "Mia," his voice cracked. I waited, fearful, guarded. He fell to his knees before me. This powerful man, who commanded Chicago's shadows, knelt. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Forgive me." Tears streamed down his face. The inner tearing reached its peak, remorse so violent it shook him. Love surged again, passionate, consuming. "You gave them sound. You saw what no one else did." I sank to the floor in front of him, dizziness and shock overwhelming. A woman once desperately poor, now kneeling with the man who held her fate. My voice soft, timid. "I just loved them." "That's everything," he said, voice breaking completely. He pulled me close then, fierce, desperate. Our foreheads touched, the air charged. Love crashed over us both, tearing every barrier. His hands framed my face, trembling. Mine rose to his chest, feeling his heart thunder. In that moment, something shifted forever. Suspicion melted. Fear gave way to overwhelming warmth. For him, the burning love he had fought became unstoppable. We stayed there on the floor, holding each other as the new year approached, the miracle of removal binding us in ways neither could yet name. But the inner worlds were still tearing, confusing, numbing, intense beyond bearing. And outside, the rivals waited for their next move. The first hours of January 1st, 2026 felt like a dream torn in half. One half filled with impossible joy, the twins' voices echoing through the penthouse, rough and wondering, calling "Mia" and "Daddy" over and over. The other half drenched in cold terror as I sat alone in the secure room, hands folded tightly in my lap, waiting for whatever judgment Vincent would bring. I had expected gratitude. Instead, I had received rage. My body still trembled from the memory of his roar, the way his face had gone white with fury when he saw the tweezers and the blood. The guard's hands on my arms, the twins' new voices screaming, "She saved us!" as I was pulled away. Shock and confusion numbed me now. Dizziness came in waves. I leaned against the wall to keep from falling. How could the same man who had rescued me from cold streets, who looked at me with burning love in his eyes, turn so quickly? I was powerless again, thin, once starving, a woman with nothing but the clothes Vincent himself had given me. Poverty's old humiliation rushed back, sharper than ever. I had no rights here, no voice, only the memory of freezing nights, of eviction bags in snow, of hunger that clawed at the stomach until thought itself hurt. Tears fell silently. I whispered prayers into the quiet, clutching my silver cross. Lord, let him see the truth. Let the children be okay. At the hospital, Vincent paced the sterile hallway like a caged storm. The twins sat on the examination bed, headphones on for the first time, listening to soft music with faces full of pure wonder. Every new sound, beeping machines, nurses' voices, their own breathing, drew gasps and smiles. Vincent watched, heart splitting open with joy he had never dared dream. Yet terror still gripped him. The sight of blood on my hands replayed endlessly. What if I had damaged them permanently? What if this miracle was only temporary? Guilt and remorse tore at him with new violence. He had spent years trusting experts, throwing fortunes at problems, never once looking closely himself. And the one person who had seen, who had acted, was the woman he loved more fiercely than life. The woman he had just accused, detained, terrified. The inner conflict raged, burning love crashing against fear-born rage, remorse that his protectiveness had wounded the gentlest soul he knew. A nurse approached. "Mr. Moretti, the doctor needs you." He followed her to a small office. The specialist, face grim, slid a folder across the desk. Old scans 3 years prior. Circled in red, dense obstructions noted in both ear canals. Recommendation, immediate removal. No follow-up recorded. Vincent's blood froze. You saw this years ago? The doctor shifted. It appears the note was overlooked in ongoing protocol. Overlooked. The word hit like a blade. Ongoing protocol. Code for endless billing, endless consultations, endless profit from a father's desperation. They had kept his children deaf on purpose. Vincent stood slowly, hands trembling. All those millions, all those private jets to specialists, all the nights he had begged God for a miracle. And the miracle had been waiting, simple and ordinary, while greed blinded everyone he paid. Fury rose, but beneath it, remorse deeper than any ocean. He had failed his children. He had failed me. He left the hospital without a word, driving through the snowy streets himself. Rivals were still testing boundaries, reports of cars trailing his men, warnings left at warehouses. But nothing mattered except getting back to me. I heard the door open, footsteps heavy, fast. Vincent filled the doorway, coat dusted with snow, face raw with emotion I could not read. The guard stepped back at his sharp gesture. He closed the door softly. We stared at each other across the quiet room. I rose unsteadily, dizziness returning. My voice came out soft, timid, barely above a whisper. Are they okay? He crossed the space in 3 strides and dropped to his knees before me. The powerful man who made Chicago's shadows bend now knelt, head bowed. Mia. His voice broke completely. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down his face. I had never seen him cry. The sight tore my heart wider. The doctors knew, he whispered, years ago. They saw the blockages, left them there because my money was too good to lose. Horror flooded me. All those years of suffering, all his guilt, all my own memories of powerless waiting, for food stamps, for clinic appointments, for mercy that rarely came. He looked up, eyes red. I trusted titles and degrees. I threw fortunes at strangers, and you saw them. You loved them enough to risk everything. I sank to my knees in front of him, legs giving way. Shock, confusion, relief crashing together. My hands shook as I reached out, touching his wet cheeks. I only wanted them free, I whispered. That's everything, he said, voice raw. He pulled me into his arms then, fierce, desperate, trembling. I buried my face in his shoulder, sobs breaking free. His warmth surrounded me, chasing away the old cold of poverty's nights. The contrast struck me again, his wealth that could buy hospitals, my past of hunger and humiliation. Yet here, on the floor, we were simply 2 broken people holding each other. Love surged through him, more intense than ever, burning, passionate, tearing every last wall. He framed my face, thumbs brushing tears. Our foreheads touched, breath mingled, the air charged with something unstoppable. Mia, he whispered again, voice husky with emotion. I was terrified of losing them. I turned that fear on you. Forgive me. I nodded, unable to speak. The inner tearing reached its deepest point, suspicion finally gone, fear melting into trust, confusion giving way to overwhelming warmth. A woman once desperately poor, now held by the man whose love felt like salvation itself. He helped me stand, arms steady when my legs wavered. We walked together to the twins' playroom. They ran to us, voices overlapping in excitement, telling about sounds they had discovered, the music, the wind, their father's heartbeat. Vincent knelt again, pulling all of us close, me, the twins, Ethan, who had woken and joined us. For the first time, the penthouse filled with real sound, children's voices, laughter, whispers of wonder. Later, when the children finally slept, Vincent found me by the window overlooking the city lights. Snow still fell softly. He stood behind me, arms wrapping around my waist, chin resting on my head. I almost lost you tonight, he said quietly, because of my fear. I turned in his arms, looking up. You didn't. His eyes darkened with the full force of his love, passionate, intense, burning brighter in the aftermath of rage and revelation. He leaned down slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Our lips met, gentle at first, then deeper, desperate. Years of his restraint, my guarded heart, all the inner torment pouring out. The kiss was fire and forgiveness, promise and healing. When we parted, forehead still touching, breath ragged, he whispered, I love you, Mia. I have for longer than I admitted. I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of you. Tears filled my eyes again, but they were different now. The tearing inside shifted, from pain to something aching and beautiful. Outside, rivals still circled, danger still waited. My past poverty lingered in memory, a ghost of cold nights and humiliation. But in Vincent's arms, with the twins' voices echoing down the hall, the world felt new. The rage and accusation had passed. Something stronger had taken its place. But the drama was far from over. The inner worlds still tore, confusing, intense, violently alive. The first light of January 1st, 2026, crept through the penthouse windows, pale and cold, painting everything in silver. I stood at the glass overlooking Lake Michigan, arms wrapped around myself, watching snow swirl over the frozen water. The twins slept soundly down the hall, exhausted from a night of discovering new sounds, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of clocks, their own laughter. Ethan curled beside them, safe and warm. Yet peace felt fragile, like thin ice ready to crack. Vincent had not slept. He sat in the study, door open, staring at the folder the hospital had given him. Old scans, red circles, the recommendation ignored for years. His face was carved with fresh torment, guilt deeper than any he had known, remorse that clawed at his chest until breathing hurt. He had built an empire to protect his family, spent fortunes to heal them, and all the while, greed had kept them in silence. The specialists he trusted, the ones who charged thousands per hour, had chosen profit over children. His hands shook as he closed the folder. The inner conflict raged without mercy. Burning love for me, now intertwined with gratitude so fierce it terrified him, clashing against self-loathing that he had failed everyone he loved. He had accused me, the one person who saw truth when no one else bothered. The memory of my face when the guards took me tore at him anew. I felt him behind me before he spoke. His reflection appeared in the glass, tall and shadowed. He stopped a few steps away, voice low and rough. Mia. I turned slowly. My body still carried the weight of old poverty. Thin shoulders, wrists fragile from too many hungry weeks, dark circles that no amount of rest erased yet. The contrast struck me again. His world of marble floors and private doctors, my past of eviction notices and food pantry lines. Yet his eyes held only brokenness. They knew, he said quietly, years ago, saw the blockages, recommended removal. Then nothing, no follow-up, because I kept paying. Horror flooded me. All those years the twins suffered, all the pain I had seen in their small faces. Tears welled before I could stop them. How could they? Greed. The word came out bitter. He stepped closer, hands clenched. My desperation was profitable. They kept scheduling tests, consultations, new opinions. I kept writing checks, and my children stayed deaf. His voice cracked on the last word. He turned away, shoulders rigid, fighting the storm inside. Remorse tore violently, guilt that his wealth had enabled the lie, that his trust in credentials had blinded him to his own children's pain. I crossed the space between us, timid at first, then bolder. My hand touched his arm. He flinched, then turned back. Our eyes met. The burning love in his gaze had not dimmed. It had grown fiercer in the fire of truth. Passionate, overwhelming, tearing every defense. "I almost lost you last night," he whispered, "because I let fear win. I'll never forgive myself for that." My heart tore wider. Confusion lingered. How could a man so powerful need forgiveness from someone like me? Yet warmth spread, intense and terrifying. I, who had known only loss and cold nights, now stood in the center of his world. He pulled me gently into his arms. I went willingly, face against his chest, listening to his heart thunder. His hand stroked my hair, trembling. "You gave them their voices," he said against my temple. "You gave me back my children, and I repaid you with accusation." Tears soaked his shirt. "You were scared," I whispered, voice soft. "I understand." "That's no excuse." His arms tightened, protective, fierce. Love surged again, burning, consuming. He drew back just enough to look at me, eyes dark with emotion. "I love you, Mia, more than I knew was possible. I'll spend my life making this right." The words crashed over me. Shock, dizziness, my legs wavered. He steadied me instantly. A woman once desperately poor, humiliated by need, now loved with an intensity that remade the world. My heart tore violently between old fear and new aching hope. We stood in quiet stillness, snow falling outside, city waking far below. Then his phone buzzed harshly. He glanced at it, face hardening. Rivals again, reports of men gathering near one of his key warehouses, testing now that whispers of distraction spread. "I have to handle this," he said, regret thick. Fear gripped me. "Vincent." "I'll be back soon." He cupped my face, kiss quick but deep, promise in it. "Keep the children inside." He left with his men. I watched the SUVs disappear into the snowy streets, heart pounding. Hours passed in tense quiet. The twins woke, voices filling the penthouse with wonder, calling for breakfast, laughing at the sound of cereal pouring. I smiled through my worry, but memories of poverty haunted me. Times when danger on the streets meant skipping rent to hide, when powerlessness left me praying in the dark. Mid-afternoon, trouble found me anyway. I took Ethan for fresh air on the private balcony, bundled warmly Vincent's orders. A delivery van pulled up below, routine, but men emerged who did not belong, rival colors. They looked up, spotted me, knew whose home this was. My breath caught. I hurried inside, locking doors, calling security. Too late, alarms triggered. Vincent's men rushed in, but one rival had slipped past outer gates, bold and reckless. He appeared in the foyer hallway, tall, cold-eyed. "Message for Moretti," he sneered. "He's slipping." Terror exploded. Ethan clung to my leg. The twins froze in the playroom doorway. I stepped forward, voice trembling but steady. "Leave. Now." He laughed, advancing. My legs went numb, dizziness threatening. Then, doors bursting open. Vincent, back early, face lethal. He moved like thunder, men flanking him. The intruder paled. Confrontation stretched, words sharp, threats veiled but clear. Vincent's voice cut coldest. "You came into my home, threatened my family. Walk away while you still can." The rival backed down, escorted out. Silence fell heavy. Vincent turned to us, checking each child, then me. His hands shook as he pulled me close. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "This should never have reached you." I buried my face in his coat, tears falling. The unfairness crushed me. Poverty had taught me danger from need. Now danger came from his world. Yet his arms were safety itself. He carried Ethan to the couch, soothed the twins with quiet words, then led me to the study, closing the door. We sat together, his hand never leaving mine. The doctors, he said finally. I confronted the lead specialist this morning. He admitted it. Pressure from private clinics to keep high-profile cases active. My money was irresistible. Horror deepened. They stole years from the children. Yes. His voice broke again. Remorse tore visibly, guilt that his wealth had been weaponized against his own family. I fired every firm involved. Legal action starts tomorrow, but it doesn't give back the time. I squeezed his hand. But we have now. He looked at me, eyes raw. Love burned brighter than ever, passionate, redemptive. Because of you. He drew me onto his lap, arms wrapping tight. Our kiss deepened, desperate with gratitude and need. The inner tearing intensified, his guilt and love warring, my old fear and new trust colliding. Yet in each other's arms, something healed. The corrupt doctors were exposed, truth laid bare, but danger still circled. My past poverty lingered in memory, his present power drew threats. Drama escalated, confusing and intense, and the violent surge between our hearts grew beyond containing. January 2nd, 2026 dawned gray and heavy, the kind of Chicago morning that pressed against the windows like a warning. I woke in Vincent's arms, our bodies tangled in the wide bed overlooking the lake, his heartbeat steady under my cheek. For one quiet moment, the world felt whole. The twins' voices still rang in memory, Ethan's soft breathing down the hall. Vincent's love wrapped around me like the warmest blanket I had ever known. Yet beneath the peace, something coiled, a storm waiting. Vincent stirred, arms tightening possessively. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, voice husky with sleep and emotion. Morning, beautiful. The words sent fire through me. I, who had once been thin from hunger, humiliated by charity lines, now woke, loved by the most powerful man I had ever met. Shock still rippled, dizziness when I remembered how far I had fallen and how gently he had caught me. My heart tore daily between gratitude and the lingering fear that I did not belong in this world of marble and safety. He left the bed reluctantly, pulling on a dark sweater that clung to his broad shoulders. I have to handle something early, he said, regret thick. Rivals hit another warehouse last night. I need to end this before it touches you again. Fear gripped me. Vincent, I'll be back by noon. He cupped my face, eyes burning with that overwhelming love, passionate, fierce, tearing him apart as much as it healed. Nothing will reach you, I swear it. He kissed me deeply, desperately, then left with his men. The door closed softly behind him. The morning passed in fragile calm. I helped the twins dress, laughing at Bella's excited chatter about every new sound, water running, birds outside, her own giggle. Luca listened to everything with wide-eyed wonder, repeating words like treasures. Ethan joined us, shyly calling Bella and Luca his big sister and brother now. My chest ached with joy I had never dared dream. Yet worry gnawed. Vincent's world was bleeding closer. I saw it in the extra guards, the locked gates, the way his phone never stopped. Near 11, Donnie, Vincent's driver and closest bodyguard for 15 years, appeared in the doorway. Tall, quiet, the man Vincent trusted like blood. He had always been kind to me, bringing groceries when I first moved in, playing cars with the children. Miss Mia, he said, voice strangely flat. Vincent needs you downstairs. Urgent. My stomach dropped. The children. They'll be safe. Nannies are with them. He held out a coat, my new warm one. Now. Fear crept in, but trust won. Donnie had protected us for weeks. I followed him to the private elevator, heart pounding. We descended to the underground garage, empty except for 2 black SUVs. Cold concrete, echoing footsteps. Something felt wrong. Donnie? He turned, and in his hand was a gun. Horror exploded. My legs went numb. I backed away, dizziness crashing so hard the world tilted. Donnie, what? I'm sorry, he said, voice cracking for the first time. They paid too much, the Calabrese family, years ago. Keep the twins disabled, keep Vincent broken, distracted. I fed the doctors false reports, took their money. He was getting too strong. The words hit like blows. Betrayal from the man closest to him, the one who had driven the children to appointments, who smiled while destroying them. Tears blurred my vision. You kept them deaf? For money? His hand shook. I have a sick wife, debts. They promised. Footsteps echoed. Vincent appeared at the far entrance, alone, face pale. He had come back early, some instinct, some warning. Donnie? His voice cut the air. Donnie spun, gun rising. Stay back! Vincent froze, eyes moving from the weapon to me, terror for my safety overriding everything. Put it down. Whatever they paid, I'll double it. Triple. We're family. You were supposed to stay weak, Donnie shouted, voice breaking. Grieving, distracted, not happy, not with her. He swung the gun toward me. Time slowed. I couldn't move, dizziness pinning me. Vincent lunged, no thought for himself, only me. He tackled Donnie just as the shot rang out, deafening in the concrete space. They struggled. Vincent's strength won, years of survival, of protecting what was his. He disarmed Donnie, fist connecting once, hard. Donnie slumped, unconscious, blood on his lip, but alive. Vincent stumbled to me, catching me as my legs gave way completely. I was shaking violently, tears streaming. He held me so tight I could barely breathe. You're safe, he whispered over and over, voice raw. I've got you. I've got you. Guards rushed in, alerted by the shot. Vincent barked orders, face carved with fresh torment. Donnie, his brother in all but blood, taken away in cuffs. The betrayal cut deeper than any rival's blade. He carried me upstairs himself, refusing to let go even in the elevator. The children ran to us, frightened by the noise. Vincent knelt, pulling them close with one arm, me with the other. It's over, he told them, voice shaking. No one hurts this family again. Later, when the children finally slept, he led me to the study. We sat on the wide leather couch, his arms never leaving me, silence stretched, thick with pain. I trusted him with my life, he said finally, voice hollow. With yours, the children's. Remorse tore visibly, guilt that his world had poisoned even those closest, that his judgment had failed again. Love burned hotter in the wreckage, passionate and protective. I took his hand. My own heart was tearing apart, horror at how close death had come, shock that someone Vincent loved had betrayed us for money, yet gratitude that he had saved me again. There's something else, I whispered, voice timid. The moment had come, the secret I had carried since the night he first rescued me from rivals. He looked at me, eyes searching. My husband, the accident 3 years ago, it wasn't random. His face paled. You ordered the warehouse raid, I said softly, tears falling. He was undercover FBI. You found out. But when you learned I was pregnant, you let me live, spared us. Vincent closed his eyes, body shaking, the final blow. I remember, he whispered. I saw the ultrasound photo in his wallet. Couldn't do it. Told my men to make it look like an accident, but never touch you or the baby. All these months I had lived with quiet hatred until meeting the twins melted it, until his love showed me the man beneath the power. I cupped his face. You gave me mercy when I was nothing to you, and now you've given me everything. He pulled me into his lap, arms crushing. I took your husband. I don't deserve. You gave me a reason to forgive, I whispered, and love. Our kiss was fire, desperate, redemptive, tearing every last wound open to heal. Love surged between us, passionate, explosive, born from tragedy and mercy and miracle. The hidden connection had been revealed, the attempted murder stopped by love fiercer than betrayal. But our hearts still tore, intensely, beautifully alive. And outside, the city waited for whatever came next. The afternoon of January 2nd, 2026, stretched long and quiet after the chaos in the garage. Police had come and gone. Vincent's influence kept questions brief, Donnie taken away in silence. The penthouse felt both safer and more fragile, like glass that had cracked but not yet shattered. I sat on the wide leather couch, blanket around my shoulders though I was not cold. My body still trembled from the gun, from Donnie's broken voice, from how close death had brushed us all. Vincent had not left my side for long. He moved through the rooms, checking locks, speaking low to his remaining men, face carved deeper with every new line of betrayal. When he returned to me, he knelt, taking my cold hands in his warm ones. His eyes, storm gray, raw from unshed tears, searched mine. "You're shaking," he whispered. I tried to smile, but it wavered. "I'm okay." "You're not." His voice cracked. He pulled me gently into his lap, arms wrapping like steel bands. I buried my face in his neck, breathing him in. Safety, warmth, the faint scent of snow and cologne. The contrast struck me again. This man who commanded Chicago's shadows, holding a woman who, weeks ago, had counted pennies for bread, who had slept with Ethan in a freezing apartment, thin from hunger, humiliated by every handout. His hand stroked my back, trembling. The inner torment was visible now. Guilt that his closest friend had nearly killed me. Remorse that his world kept bleeding danger into our lives. And the burning love that refused to let go. Passionate, overwhelming, tearing him apart with every heartbeat. "I almost lost you," he said against my hair, voice rough. "Again, because of me." I drew back slightly, cupping his face. "You saved me. Again." He shook his head, eyes closing in pain. "I bring the danger. Donnie. 15 years. Like a brother, and he..." His voice broke completely. Tears slipped down his hard cheeks. I had never seen him cry like this. It tore my heart wider. I kissed his tears away, soft, timid at first, then deeper. Our lips met, desperate, healing. Love surged between us, fierce and redemptive. When we parted, foreheads touching, breath ragged, I knew the moment had come. The last secret I carried. The one that could break everything. "Vincent," I whispered, voice trembling. "There's something I have to tell you." He stilled, eyes opening. Fear flickered, fear of losing me. My husband, David, the accident 3 years ago. Tears filled my eyes. It wasn't an accident. His face paled. He knew. I saw it instantly. "You were investigating him," I continued softly. "FBI, undercover in one of your warehouses. You found out." Vincent's arms tightened, body shaking. "Mia, you ordered the raid." My voice stayed gentle, though tears streamed. "But when your men found the ultrasound photo in his wallet, of Ethan, still unborn, you called it off, told them to make the crash look random, spared me, spared my baby." He pulled away slightly, falling to his knees on the rug before me, head bowed, shoulders heaving. "I remember every detail," he whispered, voice shattered. "I saw that photo. A son. I couldn't take a child's father and leave his mother alone. I called it off, but the crash still happened. I still took him from you." Sobs tore from him now, deep, wrenching. the powerful man who faced down rivals without flinching, broken on the floor. "I've carried that guilt every day," he said, looking up, face wet, "wondering about the woman I spared, praying she was safe. And then you walked into my home, gentle, seeing my children when no one else did, and I fell in love with the woman whose life I destroyed." Horror and shock crashed over me. Dizziness returned. I gripped the couch to stay upright. The man who had taken my husband had also saved me, twice. Once in mercy I never knew, once in love I never expected. My heart tore violently, grief for David surging fresh, mingled with overwhelming love for Vincent. Confusion that life could twist so cruelly, then redeem so completely. I slid to the floor beside him, knees on the soft rug. My hands framed his face. "You gave me mercy when I was nothing to you," I whispered, voice soft, trembling. "A desperate, pregnant widow with no one. And now you've given me a family. The twins here because of me. Ethan has a home. I have you." He shook his head. You deserve forgiveness," I said, tears falling, "because you showed it first." We held each other on the floor, sobbing together, grief, guilt, love pouring out. His arms crushed me close, as if afraid I would vanish. My thin frame fit against his strength, poverty's old cold chased away forever. When the tears slowed, he drew back, eyes burning with love more intense than ever. "Marry me," he whispered suddenly, voice raw. "Let me spend my life making this right, protecting you, loving you." Shock stole my breath. Dizziness returned. I, who had stood in food lines, who had begged landlords for one more week, now proposed to by Chicago's most powerful man. I nodded, unable to speak. He kissed me then, deep, passionate, explosive. Years of his restraint, my guarded heart, all barriers gone. The kiss was fire and promise, healing and claiming. We stayed on the floor long after, wrapped together. Outside, snow fell thicker. Rivals still circled. Reports came of Calabrese men gathering. But Vincent's response was swift now, unburdened. He faced them down that evening in a bold warehouse confrontation, voice alone forcing retreat. No shots, just power reborn from truth. Back home, he found me by the fireplace with the children. The twins chattered endlessly, Ethan laughing at their stories. Vincent watched from the doorway, eyes soft with wonder. He crossed to me, pulling me close in front of them all. "We're getting married," he told the children simply. Bella squealed. Luca grinned huge. Ethan hugged his legs. Later, in bed, Vincent held me like something precious. "I took from you once," he whispered against my skin. "Now I give everything, my name, my protection, my heart." I turned to him, tracing his face. "You gave me life twice, and love I never thought possible." Our kiss deepened again, passionate, intense, burning brighter in the aftermath of secrets laid bare. Mia's secret and Vincent's confession had torn the last wounds open. But in the tearing, something unbreakable formed. Love, fierce, redemptive, eternal. New Year's Eve 2025 fell on a Wednesday, and Chicago held its breath under a sky heavy with coming snow. The city lights glittered below the penthouse like scattered stars, but inside our home, everything felt softer, warmer, almost sacred. The twins, Bella and Luca, ran from window to window in their new pajamas, pressing small hands to the glass, whispering every sound they discovered. The distant honk of taxis, the wind against the building, the soft music Vincent had turned on low. Ethan trailed after them, laughing when they laughed, calling them sister and brother without hesitation. My heart ached with a fullness I had never known possible. I stood in the kitchen doorway watching them, still thin from old hunger, still carrying the shadows of nights when wind screamed through cracked walls, and I held Ethan close to share what little warmth we had. Those memories rose unbidden, eviction bags in snow, food pantry lines where heads stayed down in humiliation, dizziness from skipped meals, the constant, pitiful fear that tomorrow would be worse. Yet here I was, surrounded by plenty, loved beyond reason by the man who had once been a stranger in the shadows. Vincent appeared behind me, arms sliding around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder. He had not let me far from his touch since the garage, since secrets spilled and forgiveness washed us clean. His love burned steady now, passionate, intense, no longer tearing him apart but forging him stronger. "They're waiting for midnight," he murmured against my ear. "Fireworks over the lake." I turned in his arms, looking up. His face, once so hard, now carried only softness for us. Yet I saw the lingering torment, gnawing remorse for the years his children lost, for the danger his world still carried, for the husband he had taken from me. But love had won. Forgiveness had won. "Vincent," I whispered, voice soft, timid even now when emotion ran deep. "Do you ever wish we had met differently?" He cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheeks. "Every path led here, to you saving my children, to me saving you, to this." His kiss was gentle, then deeper, fire and promise. I wouldn't change it, because it brought us together. Tears pricked my eyes. A woman once powerless, desperate, cold, now held like treasure. The children called us to the balcony as midnight neared. Vincent wrapped us all in thick blankets, Ethan in his arms, the twins pressed between us. The city quieted for a moment, then, boom. Fireworks exploded over Lake Michigan, red and gold and blue blooming across the sky. The twins gasped, voices overlapping in wonder. "Look," Bella cried, "it's loud." Luca laughed, the sound pure and free. Ethan pointed, eyes wide. I looked at Vincent over their heads. Tears streamed down his face, silent and shining. He mouthed across the light, "I love you." I mouthed back, "Forever." In that moment, under bursting color and sound, the twins experienced fully for the first time. Our family was sealed. Wealth and poverty, past grief and present joy, different skin tones and shared hearts, none of it separated us. Love and compassion had bridged every gap. Later, when the children finally slept, Vincent led me to the fireplace. We sat on the rug, wine forgotten, just holding each other. "I used to think power was control," he said quietly. "Territory, money, fear. But real power is this, protecting what matters, choosing mercy, learning forgiveness." I rested my head on his chest. And I thought survival was all I could hope for, keeping Ethan fed, warm, alive. But life gave more. It gave knowledge of true compassion. It gave the lesson that love doesn't measure wealth or past mistakes. It gave education in grace, how one act of mercy years ago circled back to save us all. He kissed my temple. Knowledge that no title heals like willing hands. Lesson that pride blinds but humility sees. Education in redemption, how guilt can turn to goodness when met with forgiveness. I smiled through tears. Knowledge that poverty teaches empathy no classroom can. Lesson that wealth means nothing without heart. Education that family is chosen, not born. We sat in quiet stillness, fire crackling, snow falling soft outside. No more rivals pressed close. Vincent's final confrontations that week had ended with words, not violence, his strength reborn in clarity and love. Peace settled, real and lasting. This is the greatest knowledge. Miracles come through ordinary hearts. The deepest lesson: forgiveness rebuilds what guilt destroys. The truest education: love crosses every divide, rich or poor, light skin or dark, broken past or hopeful future. And so our story closes, not with fireworks alone, but with a family forged in fire, stronger for every tear, every secret, every act of mercy. If you've watched this far, thank you from my heart. Please subscribe to the channel Alex Truths, like this video, and share it with someone who needs hope today. There are many engaging stories waiting, new ones every day. Tell me in the comments, how did this story touch you? Have you ever seen love overcome impossible divides in real life? Share your feelings. I read every one, and they reach deep into my heart. I wish you all good health, a joyful life, and daily peace. See you in the next video. Disclaimer: all stories on this channel are fictional and created solely for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real people, events, or places is purely coincidental.